Good morning, everyone, and good morning to all of you out there in Facebook, Zoom, and YouTube. I always forget them YouTube people, sorry. Welcome this morning. My name is Reverend Tamara Merrill, and I'm a staff minister here. I would like to start with my quote this morning, and the talk title today is, "We Reap What We Sow." And I'm going to weave in this quote to that title. We are experiencing a spiritual crisis of disconnection. Belonging is the innate human desire to be a part of something greater or larger than us. Because this yearning is so primal, we often try to acquire it by fitting in and seeking approval, which are not only hollow substitutes for belonging, but often barriers to it. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our own level of self-acceptance. True belonging and self-worth are not goods. We don't negotiate their value with the world. The truth about who we are lives in our heart. Our call to courage is to protect our wild heart against constant evaluation, especially our own. Thanks, Brene. This morning we're talking reaping and sowing in our harvest time in the center. And I want you to know that in the old days, when I went to a religious science church and somebody caught the cold or caught the flu, someone was always the Catholic guilter. And in our philosophy, we have that, right? Or the Jewish guilter, right? You know, as a Jewish mother, that all this about, oh, you've got a cold. Well, what have you been thinking? Shame on you. What's in your consciousness that you're sick? Oh, you must not be very good. You must not be doing your work. And what does that promote? It certainly does not promote our self-acceptance of ourselves, right? Just the opposite. So we have evolved quite a bit where we try not to shame anyone about what's showing up in their lives. What are you reaping? Oh, my, you don't have prosperity? Oh, my, you're overweight? Oh, my, you don't have a relationship? And those things, those attitudes, are what we call the human race consciousness, okay? So, I invite you, as I talk about my journey this last month with something, I want you to think about how we judge ourselves so harshly when what shows up in the world doesn't fit our pictures. And sometimes we do that through our whole life. What if I had gone this way? What if I had gone that way? Why didn't I go this way? And all I can say with each breath that I take is, do not leave this life with your music in you, not expressed. Whatever that music is. Because in this present moment, you get to feel it, be it, think about it, and navigate it through the world in this moment only. And what prevents us from harvesting all the good that can come, I feel, is our lack of self-worth, of non-acceptance. I was talking to one of my spiritual teachers last week, Terry Cole Whitaker, on the phone, and she says, you know, Tamara, in the last 50 years, everything that has been brought to me as a problem for somebody or as a situation that they feel a loss, she said, it all comes from the lack of self-worth and not feeling that they're enough. So when we're reaping and sowing, we must not judge by appearances, but by righteous judgment. And I'm not a good Bible person, so I'm not quite sure where that came from. But it's about, what is it to say that we really love ourselves? In this society where it's so in our face about perfectionism, this obsession with an outer image of perfectionism, and our obsession with, if we armor up just enough to protect ourselves, we could go out into the world and do what we really want to do. But oh my no, I have to get everything lined up. Got to look like this, I got to do this, got to have education. And you do this dance around your life that when I am armored up, prepared to go to battle in the world and show up doing what I want to do, I will be ready. It is the funniest thing about that. And that is when we create in the field of creation so that we may plant our seeds, sow our seeds, so that we may reap the benefits. We have to be vulnerable. And in being vulnerable is a big risk. A big risk. I'm going to look foolish. I don't do it very well whenever you're trying to learn something new. My sister told me that they tell the teachers it takes a child 30 times to hear something before they understand it. 30 times. And we have this obsession with winning all the time and what that winning looks like. And the images. I used to tell my students, what is it that really gives you passion? What do you really want to do? And they go, I want to be rich and famous, rapper. And I said, is it the rap music you love? They go, no, I want the rich and famous part, And when you think about it, what is the biggest popularity contest since grammar school being picked at dodgeball, not picked last, to being in high school where you're either the cheerleader or the football player? Our world right now is constructed on who's the most popular. How many likes did you get? How many thumbs up? You're going to evaluate yourself on that. And also, if you're rich and famous, you've made it, right? And I was listening to Jim Carrey talk on one of the spiritual YouTube TVs, and he said, I have one wish for humanity. And I was like, ooh, I want to know what that is. And Jim Carrey said, I wish that everyone would get to experience what it's like to be rich and famous, so they would know that's not it. And when you hear somebody who supposedly has everything at the top of the game, Will Smith says the same thing. He said, I was at the top of my game. I'm at the top of my game of the world. My movies are number one in the world. I'm the number one actor right now in the world. I'm the highest paid actor. And my family's falling apart. And I said, isn't that enough? Isn't that enough? And then he realized through a spiritual awakening that it was living in the present moment and creating. That's where he found his enoughness in the moment. And I want to tell you that I have had quite a journey in the last month. And I'm sure all of you have had an interesting journey in the last month, filled with surprises, possibilities, and probably some loss somewhere in there. So last month, I stood up here and I was in a really good zone, and I said, well, someone hacked my bank account and took my money, and I stayed in grace. And I was very proud of myself. And people were like, oh, wow. And the bank teller's like, you are so calm. This is, most people don't come in. I was like, yes, and I said it to the world in my congregation, right? Here I am. I have arrived, right? I have conquered someone stealing my money, and I am at calm. And I'm blessing those who did it. Well, that didn't last too long. So I went to the bank. I did all the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. The following week, I said, okay, I froze my online account. Everything, I'm safe. I'm protected. Go forward. So I put my retirement check in the bank and my other checks. And then I get that proverbial text. This is J.P. Morgan Chase. Did you take out all your money at the bank? I was like, what? Okay, I became a victim in that instant. I really want you to know. The bank didn't protect me. I was on a freeze. How the heck, that's not the word I used, how the heck did somebody take my money again? Oh, I'm mad. You can imagine. You know, fear, false evidence appearing real, and it looked really real to me, especially since my mortgage was due. So, I went in and they told me, someone pretended to be you on the phone and rescinded the fraud claim at the bank. So we lifted it. I'm like, what? And I go, what kind of security questions do you ask? That's private information. They're my security questions. Why can't you tell me what they are? But anyway, so I wasn't as pleasant. I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't, calm. And I went home, I said, oh man, I did not keep my peace. I am really in it. I am in the manure. I am like, how embarrassing this is, right? I mean, I just told everybody how gracefully I walked through that experience in front of about 40 people. And now I have to, egg on my face. Now I got to show up and say, oh, I didn't do it a second time. And so when I was asking my practitioner and ministerial friends, they were saying, you got to love yourself. I was like, oh. And so finally I dug in and I said, okay, I'm going to find the rainbow in the cloud. I'm going to find the pony in the stable. So I'm going to tell you the story of the pony in the stable. You probably have heard that. How many people have heard the pony story? So this is 1,000 times over, but it's just really quite good for me. Deals with manure, and we're talking about harvest, and just fit in. So there was these two twin boys. They were about 7 or 8. And it was their birthday, and they asked their father for a pony for their birthday. So on their birthday, their father took them to the stable. And they knew just where the ponies were, and they rushed in there, and there was no pony in the stall, just this huge pile of manure, right? And so the one twin looks at it and goes, I knew there was no pony in here. I knew we weren't going to get a pony. And he walks away. The father and the other son are leaving, and the father looks around and says, where's John? And he didn't know where John was. So he goes back to the stable, and there's John with his shovel. And he's shoveling manure. And the father goes, Johnny, what are you doing? He goes, with all this manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. Right? So I said, I am going to dig till I find that dang pony. Because I'm feeling miserable. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling anger. I don't like how I feel. I liked how I felt over there when I thought I won, when I thought I kept my peace. I don't like losing, right? So I'm going to find the pony. Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute or two that I did find the pony. It wasn't what I expected, though. So during this last 3 weeks, I have had another round of people making their transition. And my daughter was working with a young man with a disability, and he passed away suddenly. So that was really hard, somebody you see every day and take care of. And then my girlfriend, who I just went to her mother's funeral a year and a half ago, just before COVID, she passed away suddenly. And then one of my other neighbors, like my childhood friends, are passing. And sitting with the family and doing the grieving. And there was a lot of loss going on also. And I was sitting there thinking, and I was feeling all this stuff. And I was trying to, separate what was suffering and what was pain, because I knew there was a difference. And I couldn't quite find it through all my emotional stuff. But this is what I got. Pain. When we cut ourselves, our body has this innate intelligence to be able to heal. And the father of psychology, William James, said, when we are hurting mentally and emotionally, there is an innate healing that takes place within us with time. Because it would be an unjust world if this body couldn't also do that. And as people of spiritual value, or believe in spiritual values, and the presence of one, and knowing that there is this innate part of us that's connected to something greater than us, and we know that it has to do with love. Pain, emotional, physical, it can lead us down the river to connect with the larger ocean. Because pain connects us. Through our shared pain, it connects us to each other. Think about the music and the art that is made in the name of pain. It's magnificent because it's the field of possibility that we are connecting to something larger than ourselves and larger than our pain. So when Brene Brown talks about being disconnected in a spiritual crisis, that's what it is. That collective pain that we share at a funeral or holding someone's hand, giving empathy and compassion reminds us who we are. And it goes down that beautiful river back to connect us to the larger place of the ocean. Suffering doesn't do that. Suffering is when you stand here going and demanding that whatever's going on is not enough, and somebody better fix it, but it's not you. It's like, if only they would change. They did this to me. And again, it's that victim consciousness. Now, we all get there. However, it's stagnant. That suffering can't go anywhere. It just accumulates as toxic poison. So suffering is kind of a moot point. You can stay in it all day and no one's going to rescue you. Some people say that it's easier to be angry and inflict pain on others than it is to feel our own pain. Brene Brown said this man came to her wanting to change his life, wanting to reap something different than he had sowed. And she took him back to the first experience that he felt fear. So we're going to talk about the opposite of fear and love, right? And he sat there for a while, and he said, I remember the first time I really made a decision what I was going to do with my fear and my pain. He said, I was a freshman in high school, and I was on the football team, the freshman, sophomore football team. And I'd never played football before, but I knew they run into each other and kind of hurt each other sometimes. And he said, so I was on the scrimmage line, and the coach said to him, hey, Johnson, get up. It's your turn to be on the scrimmage line. And he froze, and he said he probably had this real look of fear, like the scrimmage lines where you're going to go up against face to face and somebody and you're going to plow into them, right? And he's like, And the coach says, because we have this masculine myth about what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman, unrealistic images. And the coach goes, Johnson, don't be a Pussy. Get on the line and get going. That is male shaming, the biggest word you could possibly have, right? Man's got to be strong, right? And so he mustered up all that fear. And he got on the scrimmage line, and with all that fear that he had inside him, he plowed over the guy so hard the guy was knocked down. So he said, then I decided that that's how you conquer your fear. So for the next 20 years, I plowed over my wife, I plowed over my children, I plowed over my employees, I plowed over my friends. Whenever I was in doubt, whenever I was in pain, whenever I was in fear, I would inflict pain on others. That's pretty profound. And I know we know people who are angry all the time. And it is hard to sit with our pain. But if we only knew, Thich Nhat Hanh says, if we could take our pain, which we can never escape having loss in this lifetime. But he said we must carry it like a baby. We must soothe it. We must give it compassion. We must give it love, because it will take us there with it. And I think there's been so much avoidance from feeling our pain that we have become more neurotic, less connected, forgetting who we are. I saw a sign when I went to have some lunch the other day, and I laughed so hard, I almost cried. And it said, if ignorance is bliss, why aren't there a lot more happy people on the planet? So, I don't recommend ignorance. Ignorance is that place of victimness. So, when we're reaping what we sow, we have to remember that some of the things we reap have to do with things that are unconscious and programmed from society, from ourselves. It's to keep our awareness up and keep digging. So I'm going to tell you how I found the pony. Well, first I'll tell you how I found the rainbow, and then the pony, and then I got to be quiet. So the rainbow is when I went to talk to the families of my friends who passed, some of them I hadn't seen in 5-10 years, right? We're the kind of college friends that see each other, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday kind of thing. And they offered me money. Like 3 people offered me money. Do you need money to tie you over? Not my sister, not my family, but but these people I haven't seen in years. And they go, we trust you. You're like family. We know you have integrity. That was my rainbow. Wow, after all these years, they still trust me. And then the pony was this, and this is what I leave you with. I realized that, and I'm going to say it for you, we need to show up as our authentic selves in our pain and in our joy. To show up real, to show up imperfect, to show up giving our gifts. No matter what the image is, no matter what our fears is, to be vulnerable, to risk, not the critics out there, but the critic in here, to risk that, to share our common pain and our common joy. That's truly living. That's being in the very present moment of creation. And what we reap from being authentic is possibility. That was my pony. So, thank you. Let us go within for a moment to ground ourselves in this wonderful planet, to ground ourselves in knowing that we are showing up and being our authentic self in all the messiness of it, in all the joys and all the sorrows. We show up and say yes to more possibility, yes to more life, yes to our inner healing of being connected again. We are never separate from our source. We forget, but to remember who we are, to be deeply connected to love, to be deeply connected in loving ourselves, to be deeply connected to know that there is only love and light that will stand emerging from whatever we do with that intention. We reap what we sow through our intentions of love, through our intentions of possibility, through our intentions of showing up and being willing to grow and to love and to lose and to get back up. And knowing that shared pain can lead us to our wholeness. Shared joy leads us and reminds us of our wholeness. Let us walk through our days and our journey, playing the music within us, so we have nothing to say at the end of our days, that we were left with the music inside us that we didn't get to play. May your week be blessed, and so it is.